the name of the webinar gives away the topic for today, and that you've looked at some of the information that we've put out online in the sort of run up to this event. So I'll give you sort of like a little bit of an idea as to how we're going to run things, and also sort of some ground rules. We really want you to interact. So we've got an expert panel. We would love it if you could actually interact with each other and also with myself and the panel on the chat, and please do submit questions. Obviously, we have some sort of topics that we've predefined and we want to cover, but you know, we know there might be some specific questions or sort of ideas and things that you want to explore. Please feel free to sort of put those forward. We will also be recording this session, so it will be available on YouTube to view afterwards. So if you've got a colleague that you think it might be relevant for, or for any reason you get called out into an urgent call, you can come pop back in and sort of watch the rest of the webinar online on YouTube, and we'll share that with you afterwards. I want to say, you know, first of all, sort of thank you very much to Dal and the team at the Fashion Network who've partnered with us at the Ecommerce Club on this. We've done this fairly regularly, actually, sort of particularly over the pandemic. So prior to this, we were doing lots of physical in-person events together, both in London and Manchester. Since the pandemic, we've been doing sort of a regular webinar where we've both been collaborating through our audiences. So obviously, Fashion Network is very much fashion focused. The e-commerce club is a broader focus across sort of all aspects of e-commerce. But really the idea behind these webinars is that it's open to everyone. So we've got CEOs, heads of e-commerce, and we've also got, you know, people coming in at the bottom of the funnel who are sort of coming in as assistants, or even some students that are sort of training at the moment and are wanting to kind of move into the e-commerce sector. So it's pretty broad ranging in terms of experience, and also broad ranging in terms of the people that are listening in. So I want to say thank you very much to GQ and LTVplus for supporting today as well. So thank you. It makes it possible for us to put these on. And without much further ado, hopefully everyone's signed in now. I'm going to introduce the panel. So if I can introduce Kate first of all. So Kate, I was saying to you, I'm not going to do like a big spiel about how sort of fabulous you are and sort of how much expertise. If you can introduce yourself and tell everyone sort of, you know, what you do and sort of and how you sort of play a role in this industry, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Davina. So my name is Kate Nightingale, and I'm a consumer psychologist. I run my own consultancy, which I basically call human experience consultancy, and we work with retail, hospitality, and tech brands all across their strategy, their customer experience, design of both online and offline channels, as well as innovation and insight. So some of our clients include Snack, an amazing software-in-a-box company, first one ever in Europe, actually. So we worked with them from absolutely beginnings on everything from their strategy to their web design to their brand community strategy to everything else. Swarovski, one of our clients, where we help them develop their global store concept, as well as lots of amazing new startups, including a radically transparent, sustainable and ethical fashion brand coming to UK in September, finally, after pretty much almost a year already of working on it. So as you can see, very varied. And on top of it, I lecture at Regent's University, London College of Fashion and Education. And that's just for fun.
Excellent. And you said radically transparent, ethical brand. That sounds intriguing. What's radically transparent? Are they going to reveal everything about the whole sort of process, the whole supply chain?
Yeah, pretty much. So the trouble with sustainability and ethical businesses right now, especially in fashion, is that there is a lot of, let's call it greenwashing. They say that they save something, or they say that they don't do something, but where is the traceability? Where is the evidence? Even the best ones in the market, you can't find any evidence, no information about any certificates, any of their suppliers. They don't even have sustainability reports, whereas guys like Innocent or Oatly or or any of those kind of amazing businesses, sustainability reports out there normally, not a problem. Whereas the factory, what's happening in a factory, not a problem. So we're really going to push the limit up to about 3 degrees of separation right now, and obviously trying to continue extending that to the best possible level, and really kind of everything I mean, as much as you want to know.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe not like, big essays, but still, as much as you
No,
want to know.
I think it'll be intriguing to see how that plays out in the marketplace, because I think it's what people have sort of promised to do, but no one's actually managed to deliver. So I'd be really keen to see if they deliver that. So thank you, Kate. So Hilary, if I can hand over to you, if you can tell everyone a little bit about you and your role at Forever Unique, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So first of all, can I just make some apologies about the very extra nature of the background here? I've got an ill child downstairs who is fine, but I have retreated to another part of the house, which I wouldn't normally sit in. And so I've got wallpaper going on, I've got curtains going on. I mean, it's very extra. It's very me, really. But I apologize in advance because a small child may wander in at some stage. I hope she doesn't. She knows what she's up to and she's got lunch. But I apologize.
Hilary, so about that, we understand. It's like we're all working from home, so it's not a problem at all. And I love flowers.
I love flowers, and look, I'm quite extra in my dress, and I love patterns, and God, I've got sequins on and the average weekday, so I'm very happy with it. But it is quite a visual assault on the senses. So my name's Hill. So just to be clear, I'm not anymore brand director at Forever Unique. I do quite a lot of senior level consultancy work for mostly pure play fashion e-commerce brands. I specialize in direct to consumer stuff, mostly because it's what interests me, and fashion is kind of my first love. Although I have done quite a bit of work in other verticals. And I tend to go into businesses where there is a problem or a need. So for example, with Forever Unique, which is a mid to high end occasion wear retailer, or at least was pre-pandemic. I'll come back to that. There was a need to switch platforms, e-commerce platforms. We were on a legacy platform, need to switch. And there was also some commercial need to really get under the skin of how the business was working from a KPI point of view. Things weren't going exactly brilliantly. So they needed someone to come in and kind of steady the ship a bit. This was all pre-pandemic. So typically that's what I do. I go into businesses where there's a problem to solve. So I've done quite a bit of work in fast fashion, in sectors that are much older. So I'm quite a specialist in old lady footwear. I've worked for both pavers and hotter shoes, which they both do a lot in that space. Equally, I've done a lot of apparel stuff as well. So Forever Unique, which is where I most recently was. I'm doing some consulting for a different brand at the moment, but I sadly can't mention who they are. But Forever Unique was pre-pandemic, mid to high-end occasion wear, sequins through and through. This is actually a Forever Unique sweater. And my role there was to re-platform and to steady the ship and to bring in a new team. And then the pandemic hit. And so, of course, my role became very different. And it was about really trying to nudge our product proposition to ensure that we would continue to trade during the pandemic. So to make sure that instead of selling amazing sequined frocks and gorgeous tailoring, we actually needed to sell glamorous loungewear and glamorous things to wear at home, whilst also trading through our residuals, which was quite the tough gig. So that's me. I hope that helps.
That does. That's excellent. Thanks, Hilary. So GQ, I'm going to hand over to you. Now, for you, actually, what we want to understand is a little bit about you personally and sort of your role within the company, but also if you can just give us a little bit of an idea about LTVplus as well, just so that we've got some context as to your expertise.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Davina. So my name is GQ, and I'm the co-founder and CEO at LTVplus. And at LTVplus, we provide customer service outsourcing for brands. And the way we help brands is we're providing, for example, outsourced customer service in terms of agents. We also take care of, fill payment recovery. And of course, that's why we're here for the topic today, cart abandonment recovery services. But this is more from the personalized human perspective, which I think might be interesting for some brands to check out. And what can we do for your brand? Well, our goal with every client that we work with is number one, to increase sales and customer satisfaction, ideally 24/7, depending on if you're working globally. Number two, recovering failed payments and abandoned carts. plus. Number 3, outsourcing highly trained agents, so you don't have to worry about scaling or hiring agents on your own as a brand. And finally, number 3, for brands that are looking to expand into other parts of Europe or the world, we also do provide multilingual customer service. We have worked with different brands across different verticals as well, be it fashion. We also work with SaaS, for example. We've worked with a company that sells Christmas trees, and they went on Shark Tank, so that was fun. And also, in terms of technologies, we work with a huge variety of different partners. So you might know of Gorgeous, you might know of VMAs, Help Scout. We're all there. And it's been fun so far. We've been around for about 3+ years now. Yeah, definitely 3+ years right now. And during the pandemic itself, it was a really interesting. It was really interesting to see how brands performed across the entire year, especially when it first hit starting in March. Like, with some brands, they were not able to gain traction and they had to pivot. For example, there was like a sports nutrition company that we worked with where they support, certain types of athletes, and they had to pivot, for example, to supporting it as more of like a health supplement for fitness, fitness individuals or people who are interested in fitness. But whereas like for others, for example, and especially in fashion, we did see like a huge amount of growth. And one of our clients went, basically double, and they went from like 30 to 60 mil, for example. And so it was quite an interesting turnout to see both ends. And so whatever that we've learned so far, I'd be very happy to share and chat with Hilary and Kate about this today, and obviously Davina as well. And I think it'll be super fun. So thanks for having me here. No problem at all. Well, thank you so much. So we're obviously here to talk about cart abandonment. I wanted to actually go out to the people that are listening in with us today to put up the first poll, if we can, Dal. So Dal at TFN is sitting in the background as our tech dude. So we're going to pop up the first poll, if you can please vote. So why do your customers abandon their cart at checkout stage? And I wanted to kind of put this up at the beginning so we get like a feel as to what you think sort of could be some of the issues or is the main issue that you're experiencing at the moment. So why do your customers abandon their cart at checkout stage? Could be, I was asked to create an account and not offered a guest checkout. There were additional unexpected fees added. I had more questions about the product and had doubts about proceeding. Other, if you can then sort of, tick that box and then pop some reasons into the chat box. And then I have no idea, that's why I'm listening to the webinar, which could well be the case if you've just started out. So if you can please cast your votes, and then we'll get those results up shortly, which I'm assuming, Dale, you'll pop those up once you feel that sort of most people have taken part.
Yeah, they're still coming through. They're deliberating, I think.
Deliberating. Please vote for us so we can get a bit of an idea as to sort of what you think might be the main issues. But I'm going to go into the first. Oh, there we are. Okay, so looks like you have no ideas. 40%. Okay, fair enough. But the unexpected fees and possibly having sort of more questions about the product seem to then be coming out sort of further ahead of having to create an account or other possibilities. So I think that sort of leads us quite nicely into the first question, which is and GQ, I'm going to come to you first on this, which is, what are the most common reasons for cart abandonment that you found in your experience?
Sure. So I think like what you've listed in the poll, those are generally like that's a really good guideline to start with. But the one that we've seen a lot, and this is kind of where the when we work with our clients in terms of chat, the chat piece is not necessarily getting all the information that they need. Which is interesting for us because we always thought it was something else. But at least with the accounts that we worked with, the major one is like not necessarily getting all the information that they need, and even something as simple as people tending to forget, like what's the returns policy like, or what's kind of like their like basic FAQ stuff that you can have on your store. But when people shop through it, they get to the checkout page, they're not sure, and so kind of like that's one of the things that we've noticed.
Excellent. And if I can come over to you then, Hilary, is what for you, and particularly sort of at Forever Unique. What would you say sort of were, some of the common reasons why people wouldn't go through to complete their purchase?
Happily, quite a few of the reasons that the guys who are watching have inputted were the reasons. I think there are some nuances around that though. So when I joined the business, it was on a legacy platform and the checkout was super, super complicated. And it meant that when a customer arrived at checkout, he, or actually she, in the case of Forever Unique, was not aware perhaps what the cost of the postage and packaging would be, was not aware if there were any taxes to be involved, particularly when shipping abroad, obviously, was not aware of kind of the rubric around returns, T's and C's, and they still had a lot of questions. And particularly when you're spending, and this is in the old days of Forever Unique, upwards of £300 a dress, you don't want to commit that amount of money before you know all of those things. So we had really high abandonment rates. I think also it was, and this is another thing that I think is a real issue around abandonment, the mobile experience was awful for Forever Unique on the old legacy platform. So you couldn't actually see some of the checkout when you were in it. So you were actually sort of, I guess, you know, looking in the dark to try and work out what the P&P charges would be, or you would have to abandon your cart entirely to go back. The crumb trail was dreadful. So it was all about getting the right information to the customer before he or she transacted. And that was the real issue, really. We just weren't giving her the right information to transact. And also with a purchase like a £300 dress, that's not something she's going to risk lightly. You know, you need to give her the nudge, as well as all the rubric information. You need to be able to nudge her and say things like, you know, 3 other people have just put this dress in their basket, and we didn't do any of that either. And that's kind of the nudge economy, isn't it? To say people like you have done such a thing, which can nudge the customer to keep the basket and to, in essence, convert the basket to sale. So those were some of our issues.
And you mentioned a couple of times that you were on like a legacy platform, and one of your roles was to re-platform. Are you able to tell us sort of, you know, what you're on and what you moved to?
Yeah, so the legacy platform was a Magento 1 platform. So to anyone watching, Magento, and there will be people watching who know this, so apologies if this is no knowledge, but Magento 1 is a legacy old platform that actually stopped being supported in about September of last year. So it wasn't kind of it would be nice to change platforms. It was we have to get off this platform, because if we don't, we're totally unsupported. So the choice was then between a Magento 2 platform or a Shopify platform or a bespoke platform. In the end, we ended up with a bespoke platform for reasons I don't think are probably salient, but it was a good deal economically at the time to do that. And the new platform did I would say 85-90% of what we needed it to do, and was far more advantageous from a financial point of view than switching to Magento 2 would be. So we went with that.
Okay. So thank you for that. And we're going to come and touch back on some of those issues, I think, sort of particularly around, as you were saying, maybe the higher value items. But Kate, I wanted to come to you. Sort of what would you say in your experience are some of the main reasons why people are abandoning it at the purchase stage?
Yeah, so I obviously will look at this from a lot of, you know, what's actually happening in our mind when we shop. And there's loads of different reasons we're going to do that. Obviously, every of those reasons that you just mentioned is really key. But fundamentally, there needs to be this balance between pain and pleasure, right? And sort of managing an expectations rather than having an uncertainty and almost pretty much, you know, an uncertainty of what you're going to get, but almost pretty much an entire certainty that there's going to be a level of pain that you need to go through in a checkout. Because let's face it, it's either super difficult, or there's going to be a weird shipping fee, or it's not going to arrive when you want it to, or something else is going to happen, or you can't do a guest checkout, or they're asking you some weird personal information that are not necessary, or whatever else, right? But also we need to consider why people put stuff in a basket, and it's not always to actually transact. Let's face it. So we have impulsive shopping, tons of it. And obviously we experienced way more of it over the last year, because it's partially our coping mechanism to the level of stress and anxiety that we have been living with, right? It's a very kind of typical reaction. So obviously there was a lot of, you know, a lot of companies that are starting to put out information about how to reduce impulsive shopping. And we've been working on some of those projects, for example, with Klarna or with Zopa Bank, to really try to kind of help people to, you know, to get that down a little bit. So that's kind of one of those things. And it's great when they stop themselves, even after they put stuff in a basket, but they stop themselves. That's great. So the challenge of then retargeting that is perhaps not the best idea, but you can't always tell whether it was impulsive shopping or not. Now, also, you need to bear in mind that sometimes we put things into the basket because we want to see the combination of things next to each other. Because there's no other form of doing it unless I'm going to do, I don't know, a PowerPoint presentation and copy and paste images, right? I want to see if that, top looks good with the other one, because you haven't done that as a complementary product, or you haven't done that as the full outfit shopping thing, or you haven't given me some form of, of mood boards which I can play with and put stuff next to each other. Now, another thing just came up. I can't finish. I need to finish my lunch. My child is crying. My dog just ate my phone, whatever else, right? Things come up. We can't immediately kind of put the stuff forward. Or the challenge also is when they came up, we then start actually thinking consciously and rationally about a purchase that could have had a much more hedonic, emotional, and more often than not impulsive components in there, right? Now, quite often also people are very strategic. They know they're gonna get a retargeted email with a discount or with the gift or something else. Freaking hell, consumers are not stupid, right? And like, let's face it, we're going to take advantage wherever we can, right? Now, so another thing, obviously, is not being kind of fully sure also about a product, whether it's in terms of its price or, like you said, not enough information, or that something feels off and I don't trust that platform. Because let's face it, we don't always just shop in, brands that we actually know. We shop in lots of different places. So occasionally, the way the information is presented about a product, the way the information is presented about that whole kind of platform, that whole website is not good enough to actually build an overall trust, right? Now, shortlist. I put things in a basket like everyone else, so I can create a shortlist, not because I actually want to physically buy it. I might put 10 things in a basket and then have a look which one is better, right? Yes, if you have a wish list, it's great, but maybe I don't want to create an account, and I can only have a wish list if I create an account, right?
You might even have a budget or something, Kate, mightn't you? So you might be thinking, I'm shopping for a holiday, I want to buy a couple of new outfits. So you put everything you see that you like, and then you think, actually, I only want to spend £250. I'll now reduce that.
Yeah. Another thing, also very organizational, very strategic. I know I want to buy those things. I just can't buy them now because it's not the end of the month. It's not something else. But now I have half an hour to actually go through the website and put it in a basket. So then when I come back 2 weeks later, that basket should be there. Assuming your website doesn't cancel the basket after 1 hour, not a good one as well, right? Now, let's face it, we do online shopping for entertainment. It's like scrolling through Instagram as well. So we're going to put stuff in a basket, even though we don't actually want to buy that. Okay? So, so your stats, GQ, that you showed us, I'm pretty sure that at least 20% of those people are just having fun or they're killing time.
So I wanted to come to that. Sorry, Kate, I wanted to come to that actually, GQ, because Tracy was asking, wasn't she, about, what would be a kind of average cart abandonment rate? And you said as high as, 68%, maybe even 85% for mobile users. But she's also got a follow-up question, and I thought this is quite a good one, and maybe we get the rest of the panel's kind of view on this as well, which is, is there like an acceptable rate? Like, should you be aiming to keep it at a certain point, or is it just so individual?
Yeah, well, I guess everyone will like 0%, but so I guess like the ideal part of it, but I would say that it
Does
really.
That exist?
So, sorry, come again?
Does that exist for anyone?
You never know. It's that unicorn, right? We all want 0%. No, but okay, jokes aside, I think it's like it really depends. Like, we've seen, like it decrease to like 30%, 20. Sometimes like you can only drop it by like 10%. It really depends on a wide variety of factors. And at least speaking from the customer service side of things, if you set up different types of campaigns to recover those cards, at least for a start, that would definitely help you from an automated standpoint. And of course, having your customer service team or certain team members to reach out. But it really differs. I don't have like that magic number, if you will. Yeah. I don't want to give false information.
No, exactly. But I don't know, Hilary, in your experience at Forever Unique, was there like did you have a sort of a target rate?
Yeah,
or
we really did. We had, when I joined the business, we had an abandonment rate on desktop, which was about 30% of traffic, because the customer was quite mature for Forever Unique. She's definitely a shopper who obviously loves her devices and is getting more familiar with mobile devices all the time, but she's definitely 45, 50 plus. And we did have quite a bit of desktop shopping. I think also because there was a lot of detail on the garments, customers would come to desktop to examine the finer detail of sequins and exact finery in the garment. So for us, desktop was about 80% when I joined, and mobile was at about 85%, which is really, really high. I mean, obviously abandonment rate is category specific, it really is, but for apparel, I wanted to kind of be more in the, let's say, 70s for desktop and the sort of 75s for mobile. That was really what I was aiming for, and particularly because it's quite a considered purchase. And what we didn't have a lot of, just to go back to a point that was made, we didn't have a wish list functionality in the legacy site, so we didn't have people creating wish lists. And equally, we didn't sense we had a lot of people creating, say, 10 things in their basket to then whittle them down to 2, because that just wasn't the kind of shopping I think women were doing for Forever Unique at the time. I think they would see a dress and think, right, that's the dress, and I'm going to put that in my basket. The average items per basket for Forever Unique was about 1.2, which of course is a nonsense figure. Nobody buys 1.2 dresses unless they've got 1.2 bodies. Nobody's got 1.2 bodies. But there wasn't much add-on.
After the pandemic, Hilary.
Well, to be honest, yeah, I'm sat here in a pair of jeans that frankly shouldn't fit me, but do. Happily, they are very comfortable because they are, and I'm not thrilled about this, they're some old maternity jeans.
Oh, okay.
Look, the pandemic takes us all in different ways.
Exactly. So we're now all 1.2 of our former selves.
We're all 1.2, so Forever Unique's number was great. But in all seriousness, most fashion apparel businesses have, might be 1.5 or 1.75 or 2.4 items per basket. We were at about 1.2. So generally customers were seeing a dress and going for that dress. So there wasn't a lot of building baskets to compare and contrast. We just knew that it was real problems with checkout and legacy platform issues around checkout, and not doing enough to show her the truth of how much P&P would cost and, what the taxes would be, shipping to America, etc. None of that was built into the basket on Magento 1. It's a horrible platform. Thank God it's dead, frankly. And yeah, we could build all those things into the new platform. Happily.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump a little bit just so down those. I'm going to come back to the poll because I actually want to kind of go back to you, Kate, because you gave us some really interesting sort of ideas there on what people are using the basket for. They're almost using them for sort of other functionality, for sort of wish lists or for identifying sort of the price of maybe sort of a selection of items, and then thinking about how do they refine. So that kind of really brings us into sort of good UX. Is it that, those other functions should be there? We should have wish lists. We should have sort of an ability to be able to pull up a pair of jeans and a t-shirt sort of next to each other so that we can sort of see whether they would match, or a couple of, tops with that pair of jeans or something. So is that where sort of some of these companies have gone wrong, do you think, with their sort of their cart process?
So my favorite answer to absolutely every question that anyone can ask me is it depends. Because it does, right? Precisely what Hilary said. For her, it wouldn't make any sense. That wasn't the reason, because of the uniqueness of their product, right? No one buys 3 evening dresses in one go. We usually just buy one. But if it's, I don't know, t-shirts or, sweatpants and whatever else, yes, we want them to kind of still look good together. Don't get me wrong. We might be working from home, or I actually work from office, but still, we still kind of want to look good, right? So we're going to kind of combine those things. Now, if you have if your imagery is naturally already outfit based, and you have all the complementary sort of products from that outfit pointed out just below the product descriptions and everything else, then it's going to obviously be easier for customers. If you have a lot of content that allows customers to imagine. Yes, if you also have some really cool wish lists and augmented reality tools and other bits and pieces where you can play around with those things. Especially if we go to, it's even more difficult if we go to like homeware section. Like we have a lot of homeware clients for whatever odd reason recently. And it's, and that's even more difficult, obviously, to imagine. So the idea of imagination, and really kind of, mentally manipulating the product in our head against our wardrobe, against lots of different things, and really playing with it, pretty much gamification aspect of it, is something that is also going to get us to be much more likely to buy, even when we are just shopping for the entertainment value of the actual process of scrolling through and adding things to basket, not really actually thinking and not having an intention to purchase. But when we sort of engage a customer so much in that really, it's like dressing a Barbie doll type of thing, almost, don't get me wrong, we're still all children, right? So we can still have a little bit of fun. Why do you think what is this platform, Hilary? Do you remember? What is this platform? Dressed. There we go, that one, right? I'm like, that's how it works. Right?
You're still on mute, Hilary, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that was such, and do you know, for a while, and it's bonkers that I even remember this, but I am pretty old. Boden for a while used to have a tool on their website whereby you could literally create a virtual avatar of yourself. You could drag a top on, trousers on. Now, I'm not a huge Boden fan. I quite like some of their products. I buy a lot of their product for my kids. Not that they're grateful, but I used to love that drag and drop facility just to play with it, just because I'm a girl at heart who loves playing around with clothes and fashion. And so it was great. And I love that. Now that functionality doesn't exist on the website anymore. My guess is that it was clunky, but it was such a great piece of tech. Brilliant. And it made me buy things I never would have bought.
There we go.
So GQ, I'm going to bring you in at this point. In terms of kind of UX or maybe even some of these kind of sort of, quite sort of fun gamification technologies, is there anything there that you sort of recommend or you think that people should be sort of, considering implementing?
Sure. Well, I can speak from the experience because I never tried the platform before. But in terms of the user experience, not so much on the gamification piece that we've seen just yet, but just making sure this is like probably repeating like the same thing over and over, but really just making sure that your entire store is responsive from start till finish. And depending on the kind of plugins and tools that you've implemented on your site, see how that experience is actually working on mobile, because people might tend to forget. And for example, a simple example is like you have your chat bubble covering your your purchase button, for example. Something it happened. No, trust me, it's happened, and I have seen that with certain with certain accounts. But people tend to forget, and they're wondering like, okay, ever since they launched live chat, for example, why are they getting like such lower rates on sales for mobile? And that's actually one of the reasons, right? And on top of that, it also depends on, not just the chat bubble, but like any other, for example, like you might be featuring, like, for example, the social proof types of bubbles that are popping up, your Facebook Messenger. You want to be sure that that is properly optimized. And this also kind of answers, I guess, Natalie's question, like, what's the biggest frustrations at checkout? So that is a super huge one.
Like, Natalie's question in, so thank you, GQ.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, because like we get the customer feedback, right? Because we're helping them with customer service, and we're like, hey, we can't buy because the chat bubble was in place. I'm like, oh wow, like why was that integrated this way? And so it's also good feedback. Yeah.
And I actually noticed that like the color of the button, for example, it's such a simple thing, but so many businesses just get it wrong. they put just the wrong colors, or they put a color that kind of looks like the, like the product is out of stock. So gray, for example. Avoid gray as much as you can. It's not really a good color for anything, to be honest, in terms of any human behavior. Not to mention emotions. I'm like, nope, we have way too much gray already.
Wait, what color should we be using?
Sorry?
What color should we be using on our buy buttons?
To be honest, again, it depends what are your primary and secondary colors, but generally I would rather focus on the secondary color from your color palettes rather than the primary ones for the buy buttons or for to add to basket buttons. Also differentiate some of them, or go to basket button. You need to kind of make them differentiated, add to wish list as well. So I don't know if you guys know, but general trend right now is brands tend to kind of develop color palettes that have between 20 to 60 colors in them, to really kind of play with those all across e-commerce, social media, product, packaging design, everything. It is really such a powerful tool, just the color. And not to even mention shape or placement of it, or basic functionality, like I'm actually able to put my name and it, and it doesn't kind of do weird things. Or like if I'm putting my card details, I actually have just a numerical, keyboard, as opposed to the little tiny one that I can barely see on my phone, and try to put an exact, card numbers. And like, some of the basic things, or like security as well. There isn't kind of enough of the, of the sort of trust element built around security a lot of the times. So, so your payment providers that are much more sort of trustworthy, also important. The choice between type of payment providers, the choice between delivery, providers as well, because you might, for example, use 2 or 3 couriers, but I really hate one because I had a really bad experience with them recently. And I don't want them to deliver my thing because I'm just going to scream at them when they enter my, building, because that's how bad an experience was, for example, right? And that obviously is going to be detrimental to my relationship with your business. And choice is also one of the best ways of actually increasing sense of control for us as human beings, which, let's face it, we all know how little of it we have right now, right? So, and how strongly we crave that. So any kind of level of, of choice, of being able to impact on things and being able to personalize an interaction, whether I choose to be, do it for a video chat, or whether I choose to do it for a normal chat. Can I email you? Can I pick up a phone? Can I do this? Can I do something else? Can I leave the basket right now and it's going to be there in 2 days because I have to cook a dinner and I don't know, take care of my sick child or whatever else, right? All those kind of basic stuff, but like the design element is so crucial. And
it's
colors,
so important.
shapes,
So important. And it's not just about I also find, so not just about having choice. Customers definitely want choice, but they also want control, particularly in this pandemic time. And yes, we're coming out of it and that's great. But during the past year, consumers have felt totally and utterly out of control. They haven't been able to control so much in their lives. So the more that you can give consumers the information they need to allow them to take control of the process. I want to pick it up at the parcel shop. I don't want it sent to home. I'm a big one for that because I don't want my husband to see how many things I get delivered. So I can go to the parcel shop whilst I pick up the grocery shopping, and he'll never know how many parcels got delivered, which is absolute genius. But I want to control that. I want to know that that's what I've chosen. I want to control which, as you say, which courier I use. I want to control the way I finance it. So Klarna is great. On Forever Unique, we saw a huge change in abandonment rates just by offering PayPal and Klarna. So giving the customer some ways to take control over her finances and her shopping sort of methodology. That was such a huge thing. And I think that will continue post-pandemic. I think the customer feels, look, yes, it's great, I'm out shopping again, but I still want all those controls that I put in place during COVID. I still want to be able to really control how this all works.
Yeah, I think that's the payment options I wanted to come over to you and GQ on as well, because I think you're right, actually, Hilary. I think offering sort of like those other options. there's a couple of things I was thinking about there. There's obviously sort of, there's being able to spread the cost. There's, needing to provide sort of a range of methods for people to be able to pay, the impact that maybe adding PayPal can actually have. And then when you're thinking about adding things like PayPal or Apple Pay, often that's also about people being able to instantly populate the information with their, address details, their sort of, their full name details, their sort of card details. They don't have to type all of that stuff in. So I'm just wondering, GQ, do you think there's like, should you offer everything, or should you offer sort of one choice of each type of payment option? Do you have any kind of thoughts on sort of what payment options should be offered?
Let me think about it. Well, I guess it really depends on like the markets that you're serving, right? So, I guess a variety would be great, because like you don't want that to be a friction point for people. You and I guess like kind of like really like common thing that we think about in the company is, we want to meet, or rather talk to our customers where they want to be, engage with customers where they want to be engaged on. And so I think this also applies to kind of like, what payment methods are available in their country or where they are. That's something that you want to offer. So that way it reduces the friction. Because the point is, the less friction that you create for the overall shopping experience, the better, right? If I can just do like Google Pay right now. No? Okay, so Kate has something else. So I'll turn to the expert here. So Kate is the expert in this. So
so what's your view, Kate?
I absolutely hate a principle of something called frictionless shopping. Nothing that's actually frictionless or almost frictionless in life is meaningful. Nothing, and it's valuable. I like to divide it into meaningful and meaningless friction. So my meaningless friction, yes, I can't choose my own payment. I can't choose how I'm delivering it. I can't see how much it's going to cost me. No, but I want to have a little bit of a meaningful friction, such as, would you like to personalize your product? Have you forgot about this? Or how about this kind of pair of shoes with that outfit? Why wouldn't you, Or would you like to vote for which charity we actually going to give, X percentage of your, of your order? Those are some of the meaningful things. Or would you like to speak to Susan from our, from our customer service team to answer some of your questions? Those are things that are actually meaningful in some form or another. Now, we also need to bear in mind that in certain cases, having things too easy means that they are not safe, not just not valuable, they are not safe and secure. So we need to be also very careful of giving enough steps so it feels safe and secure, but not too many, so it feels annoying. And it's that kind of, balance between meaningful and meaningless friction for me that's always really important. And, the meaningful predominantly invests in the symbolic, meaning and value building of the products and of the brand, but also into the relationship that we have with the brand. Whereas the meaningless friction is all those things that are just pissing us off. And we all know which ones are those, right? It's not a rocket science. We don't have to do research on this. Just think about which one annoys you. And that's the one you need to get rid of, right?
Well, maybe this is the title of our next webinar then, sort of like, meaningful versus meaningless.
This is really good. Yeah, Kate just said everything I wanted to say. No, I'm just kidding. But but this is really cool. I really like how she segregated like meaningful and meaningless friction. That's something really interesting. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, perfect. Obviously we've talked about sort of a number of things that can distract people from completing their purchase. And Mark actually sort of put out a good question as well on the sort of chat box. And he was saying, it's like, what should you prioritize? Is there sort of, something that you should be thinking, I've got to get this absolutely right first and foremost? So if you've got to sort of look at, bringing down your rates, what would you prioritize? I'll come to you, GQ, because you're on sort of on at the moment, but then we go to Hilary and Kate.
Sure. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is the first place that you could start, but one thing that people might tend to forget is aggregating the customer feedback that you're getting, assuming that you already have your help desk and your live chat available, or whichever channel that people can talk to you on. because there's so much information that you can get from your customers. And I think understanding how they're actually checking out your website, that's the number one thing you could do. Of course, this, and I'll defer to Kate and Hilary to share in terms of, like when you're talking about analytics, where could you start looking? But I think as a first step, look through your tickets, get your team members or someone on the team, if you're not already doing this, to aggregate what are the common concerns and, kind of identify what are some of the UX issues that people are facing, or what are some of the common concerns, like, for example, maybe this product is not available in this color. And you'll be surprised that this can be actually a reason that comes up quite often as well. So yeah, I would say turn to your customer service tickets. That's a really good place to learn more information.
Okay, lovely. Hilary, how do you prioritize?
So for me, the top one, and I've done this a few times now in different businesses, the top one has to be speed. And again, it's back to this whole control thing. I've seen so many clunky checkouts that have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and you're not telling me where I am in those stages. So I don't know whether or not, having entered my address, that's the end of it, or I don't know whether there's going to be 3 more boxes to sort out after that. Make it quick, make it seem, we know nothing is seamless, but make it quick, make it, ask for the least amount of information at that point possible to get the customer through the checkout. Yes, there are opportunities further down the line to request the things that may make that relationship more meaningful. Absolutely. There's a ton of stuff you can do on that later on that is retention and is really sticky and great. I love it. And that's all about getting that second purchase. But for the first time, you've got these customers in the mode of buying. She's got it in her checkout. Right. Make it easy, make it fast, make your checkout quick. And I would also say, having seen it work really well, offer a couple of ways to pay. So offer your PayPal, offer your Google Pay, offer your Klarna. So again, I have control. It's going to be quick and I've got control.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's well said. Kate, have you got something that you think is got a top priority when it comes to streamlining your cart abandonment process, or your cart process?
So both Hilary and GQ said really the very important things. But for me, in terms of the overall kind of UX as well, is things that customers won't be able to tell you because it's their subconsciousness that's picking those stuff up. It's those little things that just make you, I'm not sure, but something is off over here. That's where you need experts, like us, to really kind of know, okay, it's the wrong color button, it's the wrong placement of this. There's one step too much, where else kind of can we put that? The size of the font is too little for me to actually be able to see it. I don't want to read the whole, whatever process of something. But also one thing that really annoys me, it's the delivery and returns information is barely able to be found anywhere. It's like you have to go through the whole website and scroll down to the bottom, and sometimes it's not even there. And it's like, or it's like 3 sentences that don't tell you anything. I'm like, those are the things that are making people feel more secure. I love, Hilary, that you mentioned, where am I at this process? That predictability, oh my goodness, it's so important. So I know whether this process is going to finish in 20 seconds or is going to finish in 5 minutes, and I need to go and feed my child right now, it's like, so thank you very much, but I'm going to drop the basket right now and go do that because that's more important, and it's
okay, sorry I'm going to put up the next poll actually, because I think this is a good point to put it in. So Dal, if you can sort of pop that up for us, because I want to kind of tie this now into sort of follow-up customer service. So we wanted to ask everyone, is calling abandoned carts too invasive? So what do you think to the idea of having your customer services team follow up on abandoned carts? So definitely it's good strategy, or never heard of doing this before. Oh, and actually we can vote too, panelists. So please put your votes in as well.
No, it says host and panelists can vote. No.
Oh,
I want my answer to be none of those. I want to say it's category specific. So for me, if it's a car, yes, definitely. That is a high ticket purchase, high consideration, really thought through. A customer is not going to try and buy a car if she is not committed. That is not a frivolous purchase lacking in intention. So if it's a car, Yes, definitely. If it's a £15 t-shirt, no, absolutely not. There are other ways of, in a more subtle fashion, of going back to that consumer that are much better than, I would feel highly invaded if someone rang me to say, by the way, Hill, we see you've left that top in your basket, that would, but if it was a car or a holiday, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's got to depend on the item, hasn't it? So yeah, I mean, it seems pretty even there, actually. I mean, there's a percentage of people that sort of, 18% had never heard of this before. But 40% have said it's a good strategy. 43% have said definitely. I wonder what you think, Jiku. Do you think it's too invasive to be calling people up?
What Hilary said is so true. I can reference this with one of our clients that deals with hearing aids, and funny enough, hearing aids, but we call people. I don't know how that works, but it's interesting. Like it's well, I mean, not like jokes aside or whatever. Because I think like it depends on the demographics that you work with as well. That prefer to engage with you over the phone or chat, etc., etc. So we found that previously when they were abandoning carts, and their devices are worth a few $100s at least, almost like you can maybe almost close to $1,000, right? And so what happens here then is that they're able to call them up and also obviously go through any doubts that people might have, and they actually get a lot more sales calling up abandoned carts as a result. So that's an example. Like Hilary said, of course, a car is way more expensive than that, but a higher value item, or like if your average order value is super high, that makes a lot of sense. But if you're doing fast goods, then it's not only probably invasive, but it's also a waste of your time of your customer service team, because you can't hit everyone, right? So yeah, that's just speaking from one of our experiences.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so I mean, so what would you say are the best ways for sort of customer services to help support the cart abandonment?
Sure. So yeah, I think like if you want to do it like non-invasive, one of the most popular platforms right now. So we have email, but there's a lot of noise going on there, right? You're sending out newsletters, you're sending out follow-up drip campaigns. A really good one is text. So if you're able to do SMS texting, if people have opted in with GDPR, that's a really good way, because SMS has like a open rate of like 90+%, and that's what we've seen. And so that's a really good way to kind of jump in and kind of follow up. In this case, like for example, if we're talking about goods that are sold like in more of like quantity in this case, and you could send out things, for example, like, oh hey, I noticed that you have like your top or whichever stuff in your checkout, and this is like a first-time visitor, for example, you could offer a certain special one-time offer kind of thing, so people would purchase. But then that kind of leads, as Kate has mentioned, a bit more of like an impulsive purchase, right? So just kind of around that. But like I think texting is really quite good. And to add on top of that is that when people do actually reply to the SMS, don't just leave it there. Get your CS team members to also engage with them, because then you'll find out what do they really want to order. Because like maybe they didn't engage with you on your site, they didn't drop you an email. Now they can do it over SMS. There's no time pressure, right? If I send you an SMS now, I could check my phone 8 hours later because I'm busy, right? And so there isn't that time pressure, and you can actually figure out like, does the person actually want to purchase this product, or could I possibly include an upsell opportunity, depending on what they want. So the goal, of course, is that you want to propose products that people actually want, so that they stay longer with the brand and ideally become evangelists, not just like making that quick sale, so to speak.
Cool. So you're saying sort of, text and email, you would say, are probably the best ways to sort of follow up afterwards. Text
like if you're not doing texting right now, yeah, but I think email should be pretty much standard for most brands. If you're not doing email, then you should probably already get started a long time ago. But text is definitely the one thing to consider. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Hilary.
Text is amazing. Text can be amazing, and I've seen certain brands use it really, really well. But again, I put a bit of a caveat on the text, because I think there are certain brands that shouldn't do that. And again, they are probably brands in the very, very high-end premium fashion space, so higher end than Forever Unique, but I'm talking about the sort of really high priced tier. I think those guys need to be really, really careful about cart abandonment strategies in general. So I'll give it a good example. Obviously, many of the big houses have been really late coming to the e-commerce party, and so they now finally, took them a long time to wake up, have e-commerce websites. You can buy Gucci from Gucci. Whereas before you couldn't, and you had to go into store. But I think you have to be really careful not to be, and somebody once said this to me and I thought it was so powerful, you have to be careful that you don't become the salesman running down the street after the customer, shaking the shirt at him and going, buy, buy, buy. Because if you're a premium brand whose cues are all about luxury and not about impulse, doing that can feel really wrong and can really damage your brand. So I think you have to think about what emotion set the customer is in. And I think, it might be very attractive and very, seductive to Gucci to think, well, if somebody's put a £3,000 handbag in her basket and she hasn't transacted it through, I will digitally chase her down the high street, showing it to her again and again and again. If that were me and I wanted the luxurious experience of a Gucci, I would find that very, very off-putting. So I think they have to find other ways to bring those customers back, be it via Instagram, be it via bloggers, be it via all different ways to really re-entice that customer. But I don't think, text would be the appropriate medium there.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we've only got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to come to like a kind of sort of summation now. You've been great, by the way, everyone. It's been really entertaining. I hope everyone's been enjoying listening in. And I think we could go on for ages. But I want you to kind of, if there's like a kind of sort of top tip or top takeaway from the discussion today, then, let's leave everyone with like a kind of tidbit as to sort of think about, this is a thing I think is most important for you to be going back to the office with. So Kate, I'm going to come to you first on this. So what would be your kind of sort of your top takeaway?
So for me, it's always about really defining what you want people to feel, think, and do. And we do that for all of our clients at every tiny minuscule step of anything. Doesn't matter whether it's online or offline experience. Because if you don't actually know how you want them, for example, to feel, or, what kind of information do they need to actually fill in, so the basic do, but especially that feel element, you don't really kind of know how to then design it, because your colors will differ, your shape will differ, the movement that you're asking people to do with their cursor will also differ, because even that movement can affect the perception of value and price and things like that. So all of those things need to be kind of considered. So really setting those clear objectives of, that experience that you want people to have, all of those emotions, and how that moment also supports your overall relationship building, because this is not a final moment of their journey.
Excellent, thank you. So Hilary, you've got a minute to give your sort of top takeaway, and then we'll come to GQ.
So for me, less about the psychology, although I think that's extraordinarily important. This is just about transactional stuff for me. This is make it slick, make it quick, show people where they are in the process, tell them it's 2 steps of 5 or 3 steps of 4, and allow and make it clear on mobile, and so that they can get through it quickly. This is all about taking hurdles out of the customer's way that get them through checkout, and it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Thanks, Hilary. GQ?
Takeaway would be to, offer a personalized experience, and also be contactable, be reachable. Because sometimes just like email alone may not be enough, but you want to allow customers to reach out to you, so that way, if they have any doubts or anything along the way, you can learn from them and improve your overall customer experience as a result. And of course, give you the opportunity to, ideally recover the cards that you're losing. So focus on customer service. Don't forget about it.
Customer service, excellent. So I'm going to sort of like bring Dal back in from the background in this sort of like final couple of minutes as well. So I wanted to kind of say thank you very much to all of our panelists for taking part. So thank you, Kate. Thank you, Hilary. And obviously thank you, GQ, and to LTVplus. But also we want to do a sort of networking thing after this, Dal, don't we? So I thought it'd be good to bring you back in, and then we can kind of explain to everyone what we want to do.
One thing, yeah, it's we're just going to have a 20-minute speed networking session. So if you want to get a chance to speak to the panelists or Davina and myself, I'll share the link again in the chat box, and it's just going to be a speed networking format. So you'll just get paired off with either one of your fellow delegates or one of us, basically. So yeah, I'll share the link for you now, and hopefully see you all there in the bar. or the
I
virtual
saw you
bar?
shared it a few minutes ago, so I'm just grabbing it myself. But yeah, I thought it was worth kind of sort of flagging to everyone. Kate and GQ and Hilary, I hope we can all kind of sort of hop into this. But yeah, I think it will be an interesting experiment to see how sort of like we can network online over a virtual glass of wine. Although it might be a little bit early in the day for that. Who knows? So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And I'll be on the other link shortly.
See you soon.
Perfect. Hey.